Hello. In this week's Torah portion, Bereshit, the first in the annual cycle, we read the following commandment. Quote, "And God created mankind in his image. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and rule all other living things." Unquote. The commandment is repeated after the flood. Quote, "And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth." Peru urvu, be fruitful and multiply. This commandment sounds simple enough, right? Yet it raises a host of questions. Is it one of the 613 commandments of Judaism? Who does it apply to? Both men and women? Both Jews and non-Jews? How many children must a couple have to fulfill the obligation? Of what sex? Is there a limit? When should they marry and start trying? What if a couple can't have children? Looking to the future, do clones count as children? What if the children die before their parents, heaven forbid? Is contraception allowed so couples can choose the timing of their children's birth? Does the commandment apply even when food is scarce, times are difficult, disease is rampant, or progeny is likely to have severe birth defects or die in war? Let's try to answer these questions in light of the Jewish tradition. First, procreation is indeed one of the 613 commandments. It is positive commandment number 212 in Maimonides' lists. Now, who is obligated to be fruitful and multiply? The answer is all men, not women. If a woman decides not to marry and not to have children, she is free to make that decision and is not violating a Torah injunction. Why so? There are several possible reasons. First, the Talmud says that the Torah implies women were not addressed in the commandments. Quote, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. It is the manner of a man to subdue, but not the manner of a woman." Unquote. Also, Rabbi Meir Simcha HaKohen of Dvinsk from 20th century Russia gives a compassionate reason. The Torah does not obligate people to perform painful or risky tasks. So it exempts women because giving birth is very painful and risky. The book of Proverbs says of the Torah, her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. However, a woman does receive rewards even more than a man if she decides to have a child, because the Mishnah says the reward is according to the effort. I believe the Torah does not command us to do things we would naturally want to do. Most women want to have children, so it is not necessary to command them to do so. Many men prefer to have a lot of relationships with no commitment, so they must be commanded. A minority disagree and holds that women are also commanded, but they were overruled. When should a man begin to have children? Maimonides says, quote, "A man becomes obligated to fulfill this mitzvah from the time he reaches 17. If he reaches 20 and has not married, he has transgressed. But if he delays to study Torah, it is permitted, because while one performs one mitzvah, one is not obligated to perform another mitzvah." End of quote. Witness Ben Azai in the Talmud, who never married so he could study Torah all the time. Quote, Ben Azai says, "Anyone who does not engage in a mitzvah to be fruitful and multiply is as though he sheds blood." They said to him, "Some people expound well and fulfill well, and some do not expound well and fulfill well. But you, who never married, expound well and do not fulfill well." He said to them, "What shall I do? My soul yearns for Torah. It is possible for the world to be maintained by others." End of quote. If you don't get married by the age of 20, the Talmud says that God gets angry. Quote, Rav Huna says, if one is 20 and has not yet married, all his days will be in a state of sin because sex is always on his mind. Rava in the school of Rabbi Ishmael taught, until a man is 20, the Holy One, blessed be he, sits and waits, saying, when will he marry? If he is 20 and has not married, he says, let his bones swell, unquote. The commandment to procreate is so important that it even overrides many other laws. Consider the case of the slave with two masters. One of them frees him, but the other does not. So he's half slave and half free. The Talmud says that the court can force his other master to free him as well, so he can procreate. Quote, Bet Hillel says that a Jew who is half slave and half free, because only one of his two owners freed him, serves his master every other day and is free every other day. Beit Shammai says, if you do this, then he cannot marry a slave woman because he is half free, and he cannot marry a free woman because he's half slave. But the world was created only for procreation. As Isaiah stated, God did not create the world to be a waste. He formed it to be inhabited. So for the betterment of the world, his master must free him, and the slave must promise to pay half his value to his master when he can afford it. And Bet Hillel ultimately retracted their opinion and ruled according to Beit Shammai, unquote. Score 1 for Shammai. He doesn't always lose his debate with Hillel. Another example from the Talmud. Quote, Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Meir, if you own a Torah scroll, you may sell it only if you need the money to study Torah or to marry a woman. The Midrash says our ultimate redemption depends on us having children. Quote, just like the Jews were redeemed from Egypt in the merit of their having children, so too they will be redeemed in the future in the merit of their having children, unquote. Are non-Jews commanded to procreate? Yes and no. No, because the commandment to procreate is not one of the 7 Noahide laws that apply to all mankind, namely, no idolatry, no murder, no blaspheming, no adultery, no stealing, and no eating live animals, plus establishing courts of justice. The Talmud says that any commandments that were not repeated at Sinai, such as procreation, apply only to Jews. So when God commanded Adam and Noah's family to procreate, he addressed only them personally, because they were the only humans in existence. But yes, non-Jews are also commanded to procreate because of the quote from Isaiah we saw earlier applies to all humans. Quote, God did not create the world to be a waste, he formed it to be inhabited, unquote. How many children do you need to have to fulfill your obligation? Shammai says 2 boys. Hillel says a boy and a girl, because the Torah says male and female he created them. Hillel prevails as usual. Halacha encourages us also to attempt to have even more children. Also, if a man had children as a non-Jew, then converted, he has fulfilled his obligation even if his children do not convert. Children of illegal unions do count towards the mitzvah to procreate. There is no final decision on whether clones qualify as progeny, but some rabbis would accept them because their origin is human. As the Talmud says, quote, Rabbi Meir said, if a woman gives birth to something that looks like an animal, it is still considered a full-fledged offspring. If a man's children die while he is alive, he has not yet fulfilled his obligation unless the dead children themselves left a boy and a girl among them. What to do in cases of infertility? Artificial insemination is permitted, but only if using the husband's sperm. In-vitro fertilization is also permitted. The Mishnah says that if a couple remains infertile after 10 years of marriage, they should divorce and marry others. This is not always followed. Witness the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was childless and remained married to his wife for life. So were other great sages. Some argue that the obligation to divorce applies only in Israel. Others say that adopting children fulfills the mitzvah. Contraception is permitted when the wife does not want to become pregnant or if a pregnancy would harm her. It's her decision. She may then use contraception herself, such as with a contraceptive pill, a diaphragm, or an intrauterine device. In olden days, she drank a potion. But the husband may not use a condom. Vasectomies and sterilizing drugs are not allowed either, except for medical reasons. Abortion is required when the wife of a pregnant mother is in danger. The Mishnah says that the baby is then considered a rodef, a pursuer. Quote, if a woman is in life-threatening labor, one must cut up the child in her womb and bring it out limb by limb, because her life comes before the life of the child. But if the greater part of the child has already come out, one may not touch it, for one may not sacrifice one person's life for another person's life. Nevertheless, one might first try to save the mother by maiming the fetus, such as by amputating a limb. Also, aborting a defective fetus is not allowed. What can we conclude? Some worry that the population of the world is growing faster than new food production technologies, and the world may not have enough resources to sustain it. This may be true in some places, but not in all. As I mentioned, the sages have repeatedly stressed the importance of Jews procreating. The more observant Jews have more children. In view of Jewish history, it is an existential imperative. Consider this. The Roman census of the year 48 counted 7.5 million Jews in the Roman Empire, or 10% of the total, not counting the large Jewish population of Babylonia. Today, our numbers are a scarce 14 million. We have not even doubled in 2,000 years, while the population of the rest of the world has been multiplied by 30. Today, Jews are only 1/5 of 1% of humanity. We must keep this firmly in mind, because the specter of the disappearance of Judaism looms large over us, generation after anti-Semitic generation. Let the recent massacre of Jews in Israel be a reminder of that. Shabbat Shalom.